That time of the evening where we joined by, oh, is it evening? No, man. I got the fast got me. Yeah, the time of the morning where we joined by the director of R.A.U.F, Refocus and Upliftment and Foundation, who do mashallah work, and they, alhamdulillah, have over the years taken care of those that have fallen victims to substance abuse. And, I was going through some articles, and I was looking at, talking about the pandemic. But people say that drug was a pandemic long before COVID-19. And I was just thinking, how would a rehab center cope with the, Muslims or the Muslim addict during the time of Ramadan, what they do, and the different types of programs that they implement. So, inshallah, who better than the director of R.A.U.F, Ibrahim Dawood, to address this issue with us? Ibrahim, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and tell us how you're doing this fine, beautiful morning.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you and all the listeners out there. Shafa, it's always be a pleasure being on your program. Alhamdulillah, it's good to serve. It's good to be part of this community of giving, and also it's always a pleasure. This month of Ramadan has dawned upon us. Allah's safety net. It's a month that we are so blessed that Allah has afforded us the opportunity to witness and be part of this Ramadan once again. Alhamdulillah.
Absolutely, B. And alhamdulillah, looking at some of the activities that you undertake, especially, in focus of the Muslim, because you have a Muslim ethos when it comes to the running of R.A.U.F. So take us to some of the highlights of, having a Ramadan coming, and we are the guest of Ramadan, and how you, as the director, have implemented some of your programs, EB.
Yeah, you see, alhamdulillah, Shafat, really, I feel I'm so humbled by Allah's, affording us, or Allah making us, or giving us this opportunity to serve humanity. We cannot thank Allah enough for using us in this, servicing and empowering people. And this, we're forever grateful to our Rabb for giving us this opportunity. Shafat, I'm here from Fijr at the center, and I'm here after Seri. I'm at the center with the boys making Fijr, and to sit in front of amongst all these people that were not very long ago roaming the streets, and some of them have never fasted their entire lives. To be amongst them, reciting the Quran, the Yasin, the Durud programs, Fijr time, it gives you such a good feeling. And say, Ya Allah, you cannot thank Allah enough for this beautiful, blessing that Allah has given us. And we are forever grateful for this. And to be amongst these recoveries is really, I do not have words to explain our gratitude, to our Rabb, Allah, for using us to be of service to people that once upon a time nobody wanted to look at. And today, sitting amongst them, making zikrullah, reading Quran and Yasin, it's such a pleasure, alhamdulillah.
Blessed indeed, EB, and alhamdulillah, Surah Yasin resonates so well there. And, when it comes to, they say the mark of a Muslim is when he's punctual with his Fajr Salah, and some say it's the head, it's the nur of the face. And, when it comes to Salah, how important is it for you to have it implemented in, we know we have to implement it all the time, but especially in the center, how important is that?
You see, Shafat, the reason why we're sitting with this problem is because we're living a life of we are more preachers than people who practice. Everybody preaches, but the practicing part in our deen seems to be getting lesser and lesser, and character is starting to deteriorate. Akhlaq is no longer there. And thus we are seeing this huge scourge, with substance abuse. In this month of Ramadan, you'll be shocked to see how many huffaz are sitting in rehab centers. How many huffaz are performing tarawih, intoxicated, under the influence. It is shocking. And the ignorance amongst the community is even more shocking. So in this month of Ramadan, and to get people now you're taking somebody off the street who's never, has never read Salah for a long time, and to bring him in here, first and foremost, he must understand the benefit of that Salah before he even reads it. Otherwise, he's reading it like a parrot, he's just doing up and down, and his Salah is done. But if he sees the benefit, and if he understands the value, and if you make him understand the greatness of performing Salah, then they will embrace it. And when they come into our facility, We are very, very strong. The 5 salahs with Jamaat is an absolute compulsory, because if Allah has commanded it, then we have to obey it and we have to carry it out. So salah, alhamdulillah, we have all the salahs are with Jamaat, and it's done 5 times with Jamaat. Even there's a Jummah program. We read Jummah salahs here, we have Taraweeh salah here, and we have all the auspicious nights, we are commemorated here. So salah has become spirituality is a cornerstone, and salah is in that, is part of the spiritual program. But and it's shocking that people who've never recited salah, never read the salah, going back into the home and making their families to start reading salah, which is even greater. Alhamdulillah.
Well said, the EB. And, whilst you're talking about Hufaz succumbing to substance abuse, what are some of the reasons why this is happening, especially to those that's supposed to be the banner of Islam?
You see, Shafat, today, in this day and age, I was talking to a chap, the other day, a few days ago, and this chap he's quite a professional person, and he said, I'm so fed up, because I was always forced. If I never did something, if I never did my salah, I would get a hiding. Whilst we fully understand, yes, this is all part of Islam, it's part of disciplining children, but we are creating parrots. We are creating parrots. Children, it's all about this reward. You become a hafiz, I'll give you that. So the child may not be inclined towards becoming a hafiz, but he's done it because father has offered him something, or there's some pressure in the family. So he's never really done it with all sincerity. So what happens? And then obviously parents are not educated. What they would do is they normally take a child that's a delinquent and make him a hafiz because the school don't want him. So what happens? He goes and contaminates other children. And the people the ulama that are running these institutions are not conscious of the fact that there could be a drug addict sitting amongst other children and contaminating other children. That's one of the reasons. But the other thing is also, when you say hafiz, he's a hafiz of the Quran, he'll never do drugs, he'll be a good boy. But we fail to realize that he's a human being. And he's prone, he's vulnerable to these things, because when they're they're becoming hafiz, they're going into the studies every morning and evening, and it's a routine. And sometimes they want the break from the routine, and that's when the experimentation starts. And that's where we pick up a lot of hafiz al-Qurans. And it's happening on a big scale in our community. We are sitting, we have so many hufaz that this year, alhamdulillah, the entire Taraweeh program is conducted by 7 hufaz that are in our programs. So which means that this problem amongst, we say we normally think the hafiz will never take drugs. And what we think that because he knows the Quran, he probably knows it like a parrot, but he doesn't understand it. So also we need to make them understand the Quran. Whilst they are learning to recite it, they need to understand what they are reading. So these are all the challenges. And, of course, and the availability of drugs, it's everywhere. It's not excluded, in Darul Uloom, it's not excluded in school. It's everywhere. It's in madrasas, it's everywhere. And it's available. So people that are living monotonous lives want to change. And that's when the experimentation starts and the addiction becomes a problem.
Yes, it'd be already, frightening indeed. And as you said, it's an explosion. It's available everywhere. The accessibility is there. And, before we go to the break, we have about 2 minutes to go. I want you to focus on, these drug manufacturers, or these fellows that push out drugs, moving into suburban areas and perhaps manufacturing in areas. And what are some of the telltale signs to look out for when drugs are being manufactured in your neighborhood, Evie?
Look, obviously, if somebody just out of the blue suddenly starts driving top of the range cars and living in the lap of luxury, obviously it's not normal, because we're all living in the same planet, we're all working hard, and suddenly somebody to get rich, that's one of the not applicable to all, but generally these are one of the signs. And also, unexplained, disappearances and reappearances, and big gates and fences, and high security, and that sometimes it's good. We all have securities in our houses, but if it's long periods and you don't see you don't know who's staying in the house, you don't know what's happening in the house. Obviously, if someone's
Okay, we seem to have lost EB there, but alhamdulillah, fascinating information coming through. Let us go for a quick break, and inshallah, when we get back, we'll continue this discussion with Ibrahim. Alhamdulillah, beautiful conversation coming through from Ibrahim. Dawood he's a director of R.A.U.F, Refocus and Upliftment Foundation, taking us to so many scenarios, startling things happening in this world, and something that we should be aware of, that looking around, and before we broke and we got broken before the break, we were talking about telltale signs of there's a drug. Or a drug lord in your area. And I'm talking about drug manufacturing, Ibi. Will you get maybe if you look at the neighborhood, his lights will be on at odd times at night, and there'll be a funny
Yes,
smell
high
coming.
security fence.
The
You don't
smell?
know who's living. You don't have anybody that you may know that's living in the place. It's unknown people coming and going. That type of thing. Then obviously there's something happening there. Movement of vehicles at odd hours.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
especially now we have this lockdown, and you find the people, they even the curfew is broken, and these guys seem to get
Yeah.
away with impunity. Perhaps
Yeah.
they, having a close connection with the so-called long arm of the law. How complicit are our,
Yes.
our police and our other officials when it comes to helping these individuals and taking perhaps a cut, Evie?
The Shafat, it is the reason why it is so bad is because of corruption. If our police were doing the work, I'm sure the policemen know every single drug dealer in the town, but they never get arrested. Our commissioner of police our minister of police went to Chatsworth, and he asked the people, there's such big drug lords in Chatsworth, how come the cops don't know about it? And it's mind-boggling to see that it's happening right under your nose and you don't know about it. Surely there must be some complicity going on. There must be some arrangement, or there probably some corruption or something. Because if you look at, I've heard of cases where drug dealers were paying the cops up to 100,000 rand a week. I've heard of cases from some of the drug dealers, that you ate from some of the recoveries that we're dealing, that they were paying huge amounts now. If you're getting bribery to hundreds of thousand rand on a week or a monthly basis, who's going to work for your salary?
It's shocking, Ibi, and
Yeah.
especially that we talk about capture. This capturing is has taken place from lower level right to the highest. And you as a rehab center, how do you react to that? That the law cannot do anything about it. That
Yeah.
certain individuals you have, perhaps the parents. Do you find parents coming to you and telling you, please, Ibrahim, don't talk about our children, don't expose them, try and keep it under file 13. How do you react when parents talk to you that way, Ibrahim?
Look, at the end of the day, at the end of it all, if people come here and they want to, R.A.U.F is not there to sweep things under the carpet. We're not there to expose anybody, but we're there to do a job. If somebody has a drug problem and he needs help, we will request that the family gets in the help. However, if the parents are not willing to take that initiative, then all we do is just leave the case to the family and let the family deal with the challenge, because we can't do more than that. If a family, and of course, if the law is failing us, it leaves us with very little. And basically, our hands are tied, because we need to work together with families. We need the law to support us with the SAPS, and that's how we can get success. But right now, sometimes I see R.A.U.F as standing all by itself, because families are not engaging in the program. Families are not showing interest in the children's lives. The law is not very effective when it comes to implementing the rules. And so what happened? It starts to go into a state of decay, where humanity starts to pay a heavy price because of one or two individuals' selfish gains. And this is the thing we deal with these challenges almost every day. And it's an ongoing problem. Sometimes parents will come to us, the school will refer the child to us, or the Darul Room will refer the child to us, he's taking drugs. The parent will come to us, we'll test him, find him positive, and the parent will not straighten the child out, but rather take them and put them into another school or another Darul Room instead of fixing the problem. And parents, in our days, when we were much younger, if you did something wrong at school, and the teacher, gave you some type of, disciplining, then you go to your parents, you will not even complain, because you get a second round from your parent. In this day and age, you cannot even shout at the child. So their hands are being tied, and in a lot of cases, parents are enabling. So these are all the things that's adding to the problem that we are sitting with. And it's always a challenge. Sometimes youngsters come to us and they want change, but the parents are not willing to support them. And sometimes you get parents coming to us and they want change in the children, and the children are not interested. These are all the challenges that we have to deal with.
Yes, maybe you talk about these challenges, and perhaps uh, addicts that come to you for rehab. You may be looking at perhaps you know is a mixed culture a big problem? The child, a mother could be a Tamilian, the father a Muslim, or vice versa. Are these children, in their confusion, susceptible to drugging?
Yes, we do see that, but there is no norms and standard. There is no fixed way of saying that this child come from a broken home, he'll be a drug addict. That child came from a mixed marriage, it could be a drug addict. Sometimes those children become better children. And the thing is, there's no way of measuring, who is a potential drug addict, because we have seen people from the upper end to the lower end. We have seen children that families are prominent ulamas in the communities. We've seen children that came from affluent families. We've seen for children that come from the bottom end, from the poverty-stricken areas. So it's across the board. Drugs is everywhere and it's hitting across all societies, all communities, all mixes of people, and it knows no boundaries. It's hitting everybody. And sometimes parents think that, the most difficult challenge is the parents send this child into an ulum, makes him a hafiz or a molana, and then he comes out as a drug addict. And then the parents say, but what did I do? And then the question is, we ask the parent, what do you know? What do you know about addiction? If you want to know if your child is taking drugs, what do you know about drugs? If you want to know whether your child has been empowered about drugs, what do you know about drugs? So because of our ignorance and the way we deal with the challenges and the way we see things is impacting on our children. Our ignorance is hurting our children, because if we are empowered, we empower our children. So parents have a huge, I always say this and I will always say this, and this is an absolute fact. We, parents, are the ones that should be grooming our children. And of course, if you think, or me, or anybody think that our child is a hafiz and he will never take drugs, you are totally mistaken. I've had a case yesterday where the individual was brought to us, and the family only found out he was a full-blown crack addict the day he got arrested by the cops on Sunday.
Wow,
prior to that, nobody knew a thing, and he's drugging for about 8 to 10 years. Nobody knew a thing. This is because of ignorance. Ignorance is feeding the problem.
EB, you make a valid point there indeed. Don't pass the buck as a parent. Be on high alert. Look at telltale signs. Get to know. Perhaps R.A.U.F, will conscientize you if you, really want to know what's going on. And as you said, this individual got caught after 10 years, a full-blown crack addict. How much of money he must have spent in the 10 years, EB?
Now I've had some family members here with me yesterday, and they were saying, but we don't know, it's a lot of money is unexplained, we don't know. Everybody's reeling in a state of shock, because they cannot believe that this guy was such a serious drug addict. And, there was some very close people around him also didn't know. Also didn't know there was a huge problem. So what does it tell you? That we are totally oblivious. We're living in a state of denial. We are in total slumber, and we always see, but his child is a drug. I've had a gentleman that come here with his staff, and he says, my staff is using drugs. He comes here with his son. They run a business. My staff is using drugs. I need him tested. And then we tested the staff. It was positive. And then one of our recoveries made his son, hey, but your son got a very huge problem with cocaine. And we tested the son, and he was also positive. And now the father is in a state of shock. He came in to sort out his stuff, but his son is a bigger drug addict than his staff. So these are the things. What do you, me, or anybody know for us to empower children? We need to empower ourselves. We are totally ignorant. We don't know a thing. And we say to parents, educate. This COVID is now a pandemic. It's a pandemic. And everybody is reading about what to take and what not to take, and what medication and what not to do, and where to wear the mask. We are fully educated on these things. And people are talking about it, and people are sitting on social media, and there's a huge awakening amongst people about this COVID. Now, drugs is a bigger pandemic. It's been there for ages. What know about drugs and how to treat your child and how to deal with the challenges presented in front of it? Nothing. Drugs is a bigger pandemic than COVID. You know, so the thing is, what are we doing about it? Drug is destroying families, breaking homes, destroying marriages. Children are losing their parents. So the open challenge to every listener, ask yourself, what do you know about your child? Go and ask, what do you know as a parent? If you have a child that was given to you as an amanat, and you know there's a drug problem in your community, are you in a slumber and thinking it's never going to come to your house? And then when it finally comes, you go in a state of shock? Or are you going to educate yourself? If you don't know anything, then you are a sitting duck for this huge misery to come, or this thing called drug destroy. I've seen doctors, I've seen specialists, physicians, doctors, ulama, huffaz, people as old as 70, 75, coming here with drug problems. So I'm asking, what is wrong? What is wrong? Is it because of ignorance? Is it because of denial? What is it? Why is it getting so bad? And I will point it down to one thing. You want your child to be clean from drugs. What do you know? What are you going to teach him? When he came to haram and halal, he knew from a very young age pork is haram. Very young age, he knew in his very infancy, I can't eat, that's haram. If you put that same effort and say drugs is haram, educate him about drugs. Today, ulamas in some masjid will criticize us when we talk about drugs and say we're glorifying it. But I'm asking, how do you empower people if you don't engage with them? So the thing is, we need to change the way we think. We need to accept that we have a problem in our community. We need to accept that this is one of the signs of end times, when intoxicants will become a norm and widely accepted. We need to accept that and start preparing, educating, empowering. R.A.U.F as an organization has established support groups throughout the country. We did this in a rush because we want to. It's an amanat, it's a responsibility to.
Well, AB, I can tell you, mashallah, graphic indeed. Allah bless you, and inshallah, we'll keep in touch with you. And your parting words this morning, AB?
My advice to parents, remember, the greatest gift Allah has given you is your child in this world. And I can tell you something. If you really care for your child, empower them, educate them. Don't think just making them hafiz or Quran or a doctor or a lawyer, you've done your job. You also need to work on their character. If the character is not good, then it makes them vulnerable to the wrong things. And educate yourself as a parent. And start out by asking yourself, what do you know about any drug? You know some of these youngsters better than their parents from all the lives that they spend. So get to know your child.
Jazakallah khair, EB. You go well. I'll talk to you soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
Wa
barakatuh.
alaikum salam. Wa alaikum salam.